Isn't that lovely? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about love. So, love is kind of a mushy word. You know, not easy to define. You know, you look it up in the dictionary and it says an intense feeling of affection. In other words, that you really, really, really like somebody. But there's also other definitions. I looked in the Urban Dictionary, and it says the act of caring and giving to someone else. So is love a feeling or an action? Maybe it's both. What do you think love is? And do you think it's more important to give love or to receive love? Or are they both equally important? What's the first thing you think when I say, what is love? Do you think of the love between a parent and a child? Or the love between people in a relationship or who are getting married? Or maybe the love between friends, friends forever. Or the love that you experience when you're helping someone in need. Someone who needs a hand up. And still, I wonder, is it an act or a feeling? We listened to the story earlier about Ralph Waldo Emerson and his daughter, Ellen. And they didn't have a clear understanding of it either, I don't think. Or maybe it didn't matter to them. But Ellen thought of love as the time that she, making time for her and her father. That was, getting her father to understand that making time for her and him to be together was important. And Emerson kind of had a different take on it. He had the sense that the wonderful feeling that he would have, the special feeling that he would have in spending time with his daughter was what love was. And maybe we don't need to know exactly. But I think it's important to begin thinking about how do we give and receive love? Gary Chapman is an author and a Baptist minister, and he wrote this book. It's called The 5 Love Languages. And again, he comes to this conclusion that love is something you do for somebody else. So his book is written from this position that love is an action. And so he describes love as a verb, an action word, something you do. Now, I'm not sure I entirely agree with him. I think I've experienced the emotion of love, the feeling of connection to somebody, but I've also acted out of that emotion. But as I was reading Chapman's book, I found some really lovely things that we might think about doing for someone we love on this Valentine's Day. So I want to share some of those with you and talk a little bit about them. And I think they work for whether it's a parent-child or spouses or friends and friends or a person you're helping in need. I think that these ideas are universal. They're ideas that you can use in any relationship. So the first one is very similar to what we heard from Ralph Waldo Emerson and his daughter, is this idea of time. That's an expression of a love language. Giving your undivided attention to someone that's special to you. Without distractions or television. I don't think kids watch television much anymore, but without the phones in your hands, looking at them on the screen, putting the phones aside, without any kind of outside interference, giving the person that you're with your undivided attention. You know, when I was a marriage counselor, I used to encourage couples that came to see me to go on a date night with each other. I mean, you know, I'm sure that adults here or children have seen their parents go on date nights together. You know, it's really special. It helps people remember why they enjoy being together. And it does one other thing, and I think this is really important. And that is that you prioritize, you make important that your relationship. So you know, if your relationship is important to you, you'll spend time with the person that you're in your relationship with. Again, whether it's child, parent, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever derivation of relationship there might be, if you spend time with it, it's important to you. You know, I was wondering how you give your undivided attention to someone you care about. And so I want to particularly ask our youth and children today to think about, you know, how do you feel when your parents give you their undivided attention? You know, it might be something to talk about with them, you know. And your parents, you can talk about with your children as well, why it's important for you to have the other's undivided attention. What does it mean to you? Why is it important to you? What do you feel when it happens? You might talk about this some more after the service, but I think it's important. So let's go on to the next thing Chapman talks about. He talks about touch as being another love language. You know, touch is really touchy right now because we can't touch the people we're used to touching. You know, our friends, our extended family, the people, anybody who's not living in the household where you live. You know, with this coronavirus, we can't touch for fear that we might pass on this disease. But touch is so important to us. It gives us comfort, a sense of warm feeling, a connection that is strengthened by the touch. That's why people give a handshake or a hug. It feels like that relationship is somehow more solid because you're able to do that. But now, how do we do that? We can't touch, physically touch. So how have you been touching in other ways, those people you love and care about, those people you don't live with and you can't physically have contact with? How are you touching them? Because I think it's important for us to think about that. You know, just so that we share some good ideas, we have the chat. There's a chat that we have along with the service today. You know, put some ideas in there in ways that we can touch each other and feel that connection, that solid connection with each other that's so important in our love relationships. Another of the love language that Chapman talks about is words, just words that we say to one another. But in particular, he focuses on words that connect us with one another, like the words, I love you. There are other things, other words that are love languages too, like compliments, sincere compliments. And another way to use your words to show someone that you love them is that when they're happy or sad or mad or afraid, that you say something to them. Like you'd like to share in their joy and happiness. Or, how can I be with you while you're feeling these uncomfortable feelings? Let them know that you have heard them and are with them as they experience whatever emotion that they're experiencing. That simple gesture means so much to people, increases and strengthens the connections we have with one another. So I'm going to ask you to do something, a little exercise. In just a moment, I want you to say the words, I love you. Now, I understand everybody's in a different place. Some people are alone, some people have their pets with them, some people are in their family pods. So it's going to be a little different for each person. But I want you to say, what I want you to do is to say I love you. And if it's to yourself, because we all need a little love and compassion, especially right now. Or if you say it to someone that's with you, look them in the eyes and say it to them. I mean, really say it to them. And if it's your pet, hold your pet, pet your pet, say that you love them. And notice what happens for you and them. Go ahead. Say the word I love you now. I mean it. So what did you notice? If you said it to yourself, did you feel that warmth and comfort that comes when someone says it to you, that gives you that affection? Attention. If you said it to someone in the room, how did they respond? Maybe they smiled. Maybe they said thank you. Maybe they said it back. If you said it to your pet, did you notice if they purred or barked? It means something to say that. And to say it regularly. Let me talk one more thing that Chapman said I wanted to talk with you about, was that he said that we should do service for those that we love. Now, what does that mean? That means you're doing something for someone else. And this fits very well into our Unitarian Universalist principles. Now, I'm going to use the children's version of Unitarian Universalist principles because I think they speak to this in a little more deeply. So, let me share two of those UU principles. We believe that every person is important. We believe that all people should be treated fairly and kindly. Do you do the dishes in your home? I do. I do the dishes. And I do the dishes because, somebody's got to do the dishes, and we want to keep the house clean. But over time, I've decided that I was doing the dishes because I love my wife. I was doing them for her. Now, it doesn't mean that, she has to say thank you or anything else. I'm giving that as a gift to her without any expectation of anything in return. It just because it feels good to me to think about my love for her while I'm doing the dishes. And how much that means to her that she doesn't have to worry about it. She can cook up a storm with 15 plates and pans and bowls, and she doesn't have to worry about what happens afterward. I'll take care of it. Do you do something like that in your house? Maybe you do your chores, and there are times that you're doing it out of love because you do it without anybody asking you to do it. Not your parents, not your spouse, or your partner, or your friend. Nobody has to ask you. You do it not because it just needs to be done, but because you know it's important to the person that you love. Love is more than just about people and pets. I don't want to forget to say this. One of our Unitarian Universalist principles is we believe in caring for our Mother Earth, the home that we share with all living things. In there could we find a love language? What kind of love language would it be if we love the earth by showing that love, by cleaning, the trash we see on the ground, or, recycling, or taking our food and not just throwing it in the trash, putting it in a bin and letting it sit there until it can become part of the soil again. Isn't this how we can express our love for Mother Earth? Because Mother Earth is where we came from. How we came into existence is on this planet, and it has given so much to us. I think it's important for our spiritual lives to think about that kind of love as well on this Valentine's Day. It's like giving a Valentine card to Mother Earth. So I have something else I just want to ask the children and youth and to do with their parents sometime after the service. And actually, anybody can do this with anybody. But I want to point out the children and youth today because I'd like them to spend some time together with their parents thinking about love and talking about love with each other after the service today. How you show each other love. What's important to you about how you show each other love? Let me give you some ideas of ways you can show each other love, and then I hope you do carry that conversation forward. One way that you can show someone you love them is being patient with them. They might be going through something very difficult, and they might just need you to be still and quiet and wait with them while they go through whatever they go through. Another thing you might do is be kind to someone. Just showing them a little kindness, a little doing something nice for them, means the world. How about giving someone you love the benefit of the doubt? Let's say, I don't know if this happens, but let's say something breaks in the house and the person that you love says, I didn't do that. Maybe on this Valentine's Day you could give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't. But think of that. And you know what? If you're willing, and you and your kids are willing, send me some of the ideas that you share with each other about how you can show each other love. Yeah, I want a couple of other things I wanted to talk about because I think they're important as we think about this Valentine's Day. Philosopher and author Alain de Botton, Botton, wrote, "Every fall in love involves the triumph of hope over knowledge." Now, what is he trying to say there? In any relationship, not just romantic relationships, many of us discover that some things about the person we're in the relationship with we might hope to change. Maybe that we want them to change to be able to give us love in a different way, or that they receive our love in a different way. Some people, I think, want that person to completely change to be the person they want them to be. But staying in a relationship simply because you hope the other person's going to be different, is going to change, is not healthy. Hope may be the hallmark of falling in love, but knowledge, really getting to know that person and being willing to work with that person, to understand their strengths and weaknesses, to understand your strengths and weaknesses, to work together to change the things in the relationship that can make it healthier and stronger. Well, that's really what enriches a relationship and really results in it enduring. Knowledge about yourself and knowledge about the other person are what really can keep a relationship together. And then I want to talk a little bit about moderation, because I come from this Buddhist framework, and the Buddha always said, all things in moderation. All things in moderation. So this affirmation has guided me through all my relationships with all the people in my life, and whether it be helping someone or loving myself or loving my spouse or my children, my friends. Moderation, loving others and receiving love. That's the moderation that I want to talk about. It is important that we all experience love. We all need to feel that from time to time. And sometimes we need to give it to ourselves. But we all need to get a little love. And we all need to give love. That's the balance. And it can get out of balance, and we need to be aware of that when it's out of balance, so we can kind of return it to balance. Now, from my perspective, I see giving love as a gift that we give without expecting anything in return. Because when I think about, they need to do something for me if I give something to them, I get into this thing where I'm expecting them to do something for me, and then if they don't, I get hurt. And I just don't think that's helpful. I mean, it happens, and it's going to happen, but to be aware that if you're giving something freely of your own intention, just give it and let it go. I'm not perfect at that. I don't know anybody who is, but it's what I aspire to. And when I'm given love, I say thank you. Or I love you too. It's a simple thing. So important. And again, it's a way of both taking in that love that the person is offering, saying thank you, lets them feel the joy that you've received the love from them. And it lets that love come in a little more deeply, like it really means something in your own heart, strengthens who you are, knowing that you're worthy of love. Now, I know I've talked a lot about love today, and I thank you for being with me today as I thought about this. You know, there are a lot of ways to give and receive love, and I hope as you leave today that you reflect on some of these, you talk with those you love about some of these, parents to child, spouse to spouse. I think it's important we learn about each other. What is it that makes you feel loved? When you tell your partner, they're able to give that to you, and vice versa. So let us go forth from this time trying to love with a little more knowledge. Because love can be as mysterious as a dark forest. Love can be as wise as an enduring friendship. Love is really the true power. It's not a distraction. For love is both a noun and a verb. It is both a feeling and an action. So let us go forth into the world experiencing both. Amen.